Hey everyone, welcome to Political Radar Echo, 30 minutes of political talk about current topics with panelists from a variety of viewpoints. I'm your host, Cassandra, and this is episode 7.
This is Political Radar Echo with Cassandra, where we cover many political issues affecting our country with a panel of guests from many viewpoints.
Our panelists today are Camille Hlavka and Sylvia Garrido. Should I say that correctly?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Sylvia, could you introduce yourself?
Sure. I am originally from Rio de Janeiro, and I have come to live here back in 2000.
In the United States.
In the United States. I landed in Green Bay in 2010.
Okay, so fairly recently.
Yeah.
All right. And what do you do for a living right now?
By trade, I am an interpreter and translator.
Okay.
So I do work for companies that are still attached to my country so that I can legally work, and I do the job from home.
Okay. All right. Camille?
And my name is Camille Hlavka. I am actually Cassandra's sister. I live in New York City. I am a small business owner, and then I also, on the side, I bartend at a local business in Astoria, which is really great. Gives me a really wonderful viewpoint of a lot of different people in my own neighborhood, which are from a lot of different neighborhoods, but New York being a sanctuary city. And I'm originally from Racine, Wisconsin, but been in New York for about 11 years now, so really love it out there. But happy to be on the show.
Yeah, I'm originally from Racine. In case I don't know if anyone knew that. Actually, I don't know if any of the viewers
I suppose
knew
by
that.
me being from Racine, you're also from Racine.
Right. I don't think anyone
I
knew that.
outed you.
You outed me. Boy. So we're actually going to talk about immigration today, and hopefully get to something that's currently happening right now that hardly ever happens. Usually, we're doing a show, and then someone will come and say, guess what happened while you were doing the show? So that's how the news cycle works. So we'll talk about immigration and hopefully the Trump travel ban that is supposed to go partially into effect tonight. But here in Wisconsin and actually around the country in different states, there is legislation in the state legislatures about immigration, punishing sanctuary cities. The ones in Wisconsin are Assembly Bill 190 and Senate Bill 275, and basically it would punish sanctuary cities. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about. I want to start with Sylvia. If you could kind of give us your story, because you are actually an undocumented worker, correct?
Yes, I
Okay,
am.
you're an undocumented.
I'm a documented immigrant.
Okay.
I came here with the intent of going back. I came to spend some time. It wasn't a good time at home, but it wasn't horrible. It was just maybe the opportunities weren't there and things weren't going to progress. So my parents figured, why not try to spend some time away? Maybe you can further your education. Maybe you can just, visit. And long story short, my sister first passed away, then my mother and my father in a period of probably 4 years. I had to overstay my visa because I had absolutely no one to go back to. So in my case, obviously I didn't cross the border because there wouldn't be that possibility, and I came with a visa. I was legal for a while, but then when that happened, I could not but stay.
Mm-hmm.
And so from there, I guess it's just really not as it's told, this whole you have to hide. There is a lot of it. But in my
You don't hide. I met you at our kids' school. Our kids went to school together.
I don't hide. I'm an activist. I'm always, I realize that there is a lot of myth around you
Right.
being able to do things or not. I guess the hard part is losing your cultural identity.
Okay.
You do have to leave some of that behind because you're expected to.
You're expected to conform here.
Yeah, you're expected to change, and if you want to be here, you have to be just like.
Interesting, because I feel in New York, that's one difference, is that there are communities within, the city itself, within each borough even, that people who are undocumented immigrants, they tend to find, their culture, their people, and it's what makes it so rich there. And it's a shame that that doesn't spread to the rest of our country, that everyone doesn't have that same opportunity, because it's what makes New York so lively, so enriching, and so fantastic. I think it's part of the reason there's millions of tourists there. They come to experience that. So it makes me sad to hear that that's something you feel that you need to suppress, being in, that a different community.
If it wouldn't be, I think, to talk about it in a more broad of a sense, it is not really. I didn't ever feel like that. I guess the New York thing is just like Los Angeles or Miami, because people outside the country, they're not going to hear first, well, what am I going to do? Let's go to the USA. Yeah. Green Bay, nobody knows. Or another,
Right,
they
right.
know New York, they know LA, they know Miami. So you have the bigger chunk. And so I think there's more of an, because there's more people, statistics, so there's more of an acceptance. I don't really feel oppressed in that sense because of here. It's more of a subjective thing. You work on your accent a lot, more than other important things, because once you speak, then there's a whole image that's going to be
Right.
made about
Right.
you. You
Right.
have an accent, so then, well, therefore you're from somewhere else, then you're not from here. Oh, where are you from? And you become kind of a little, oh, you're from Brazil. Oh, carnival and soccer.
Soccer.
So the whole cultural identity is where you drop certain things because you then are already defined by those bigger, but what you know, but what's in the news. You don't care what's going on in any other way but what they feed you
Right.
from that country, what it is. And it's just so little of everybody.
Right.
And so in that sense is what I feel. It's not like I have to walk around trying to conform,
Right.
but I will be judged for being a foreigner.
Yeah, unfortunately, I had an experience yesterday at the airport. It reminded me, because I do live in what we like to call the bubble, and we sometimes, us in the bubble, forget that there's such a different viewpoint outside of our bubble. And in the airport yesterday, there was two ladies who were standing in line behind me, and they were clearly from Wisconsin on my flight going back to Wisconsin. And they said, "Isn't it nice that everyone here at the airport talks like us, sounds like us, and looks like us again, unlike in Times Square?" And for me, I was like, whew.
On a smaller scale.
Yeah, but it just, I forget that that's a real thing. So when you say the speaking thing, it's exactly what these women were talking about. And to me, that's discrimination in a totally different level that some people don't even realize. A lot of people think you're discriminated
Right.
based on your hair color or your skin color. And what you just said is exactly what those women said, is you're immediately discriminated against because of the
Right, so
sound
what-
of your voice.
What they've talked about now with our state legislature and with these bills that are going through, the AB 190, the SB 275 that people are trying to fight, is that these laws would mimic the Texas Show Me Your Papers laws. And it talks about the racial profiling and how it would basically be legal. What is your thought on that? If teachers, clerks, law enforcement get to become immigration,
Mandatory callers.
and you get pulled over and you talk to them, does that scare you at all?
So long it doesn't scare me, but I'll tell you
Okay.
why. Maybe it's just the individual I am, or maybe it's the fact that I understand that practically, if that were to happen to me, I'm not committing any crimes that would take me straight out of here. It would
Okay.
start a process that probably would make me stay legally.
Okay. Right, because you have a child too.
Yeah,
So you have a child who's in school and receives services. You actually have a disabled child.
yeah, she's autistic.
Right. So you navigate these offices, and these people could end up being forced to work as immigration.
Right. I don't know that it would change much. I know
Okay.
that some will change. There's always somebody that wants to be evil. There's always someone
Right.
having a bad day.
So you talked, Camille, you talked about, I don't know if this was on or if it was before, we were talking about New York City and Wisconsin and the rest of the country, I think, are similar in the fact that you said New York literally runs on undocumented workers.
Absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely.
the economy would crash without them. And here in Wisconsin, that was what people went to the Capitol yesterday to talk to our legislators about how our economy here could crumble.
It's
without undocumented
It's also
workers.
ran by undocumented.
Yeah.
Right. I read a statistic that 1 in 10 jobs in Wisconsin is dependent on the dairy industry. So what the protesters did yesterday was they brought cartons to legislators, correct? Am I correct in this? They had
the carton.
milk cartons that said,
Yeah.
got milk, not without immigrants.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what your take on it. Like, what would happen if all of a sudden we do what the president wants and everybody who's undocumented is gone? We ship them all back. What would happen? What would happen in New York? What would happen here in Wisconsin?
In New York, everything would be, I mean, you're not going out to dinner. That's for sure. Your office isn't going to be cleaned. Unfortunately, these are some of the stereotypical jobs that are put into place. But like I was saying before the show, it's a very different viewpoint in New York than it is in, the middle of the country. In the middle of the country, you're talking about feeding our country and, the farming industry. In New York, even in the big cities, Miami, it's a totally different ball game. You're talking about the restaurant industry alone, and which is a huge part.
You work at a beer and cheese
I do.
place.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I got out of Wisconsin, and then I work in a beer and cheese
Right.
place.
Yeah. She leaves Wisconsin and works at a beer and cheese.
You can take the girl out of Wisconsin, but not the Wisconsin out
They
of
found
the girl.
they found the perfect bartender. But I mean, think about even just your little bar restaurant that you work at. She'll bring cheese back from Wisconsin. Like, here, you guys check this out. It's really good.
Real deal.
The real deal stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, and it's not just this particular job I've worked at. I was the director of a wedding venue, and a good portion of, those people were either on visas or undocumented. And, that one place, just this one place in New York, it would not function without, these people. And they are good, wonderful, hardworking people. Honestly, better working than some American-born people that I know. Not to, put it in any sort of box, but I'm going to say these are some numbers I have of the 11 million undocumented workers. Trump keeps using the words of many, many, and tens of thousands. I mean, that's not data to me. To me, I'm the opposite. Many, many, and tens of thousands are good people. They're here to work. They're here to make a better life for their family. They're here, not just restaurants. I was telling Cassandra the other day, all the nail salons and the hair salons, all those things that we take for granted, that these services are available, all these people are what fuel that economy. And, I am really big, and I have been way before this show for many years, asking people their story.
Yeah.
And
I come by it honestly.
yes, I find
It's our family.
the human, just the human race to be fascinating, and just people and their behaviors. And I've talked to so many, undocumented workers that, they've left their family. There's a woman who does my nails who she left her daughter right after she was born, and she's never seen her basically again. And she's just here to make a better life and do something better for her family, even though she's not making that much here. It's better than the life she had there, and she's. But these are the good, hardworking people that I see. Of course, there's going to be some bad people, but to talk to another point that you and I had sort of touched on is the people that are bad, and I'm definitely putting air quotes on here. I don't think that the offenses, of course, there's going to be some bad seeds in everything, but I was looking at some numbers, and of all the immigrants here, only like 3% have committed crimes, and within those crimes, they could be anything from a misdemeanor of jaywalking to, and possibly including, federal offenses like using a wrong social security number. But that's something they're forced into.
Yeah,
there's
Sylvia and I have discussed that.
definition of crime.
That's
What's the definition of crime
I
that
think
Trump
that's
is putting us
something
into here?
you're working on it in our community, right?
Yes.
As part of a task force.
Right.
So I think that's something that I didn't understand. And there are a couple other misconceptions that you had talked about, like you do pay taxes, correct?
correct.
You pay taxes. Do you receive health care?
No.
Okay. So you pay taxes, you don't receive health care. Do you receive Social Security?
Nope.
So you're not.
Well, basically,
So that's a
person-
misconception.
It is a misconception. It is the ignorance of the details. When you're here and you're undocumented, there is a possibility one day you're gonna legalize your situation. When that happens, you need to have paid all the taxes from the day you arrived. In my case, I have documentation of coming here and arriving and being allowed in, so I have to present those, and I have to pay taxes from that day till today. So if I don't start paying them right now, it's probably, you have to pay it ahead of time.
Yeah.
So there's ways around it. You get a number, you get a tax ID number.
Yep, you said the tax
that
ID
is
number.
simply for you to pay taxes on
Okay.
whatever money you're making.
And Camille had mentioned when she and I were talking about using someone else's Social Security number, and that's often a lot of what is considered a federal crime. Because it's a federal crime.
Right.
It's a federal crime to be
And
here
but
in
you
the
were
first place.
it's a federal crime to be here. But you were talking about how you've worked on task forces and talking about how that's a nonviolent crime and.
Well, we want legislators to understand that, yes, we understand there is a crime in overstaying a visa. You're not allowed here, you're basically against the grain. The Social Security number, of course, if you're gonna get the job, if nobody gives you a job when you get there, like I do, say, this is my situation, give me an opportunity, I'll show you what I can do, and it happens always, but that's not the case with everybody. So you get a number that's probably going to be somebody else's number. All you're doing is paying taxes into it.
And you're just paying taxes in that person's name, and
Because you need to feed
just
the
so you
family.
can.
Right.
Yeah. It's not like you don't want to it's not about the credit. It's not about anything else, but just presenting some people make up a number that's their phone number or whatever.
Okay.
Absolutely.
It unfortunately will be somebody else's number, but you're not taking, you're adding. It's just so that you can have that job so you can feed your family. So in this case, the intent is what you consider. There is a crime in it, and there is a crime in being here undocumented. That's the point blank that the president wants to make. It is not lawful.
Okay.
But still, yeah, the problem is how do you send everybody home because of that lawlessness?
Right.
Well, and what happens if we? So Camille, you live in a sanctuary city. So anybody who's undocumented, if there's a crime, if there's domestic abuse, if you are, if you're raped, if you're anything, you can go to the police even if you're undocumented and nothing happens.
Nothing
You
happens.
as a undocumented,
Right.
and now I know. So the stuff in the legislature right now in Wisconsin would make police officers be able to. Everybody would so they would have to ask.
Law enforcement
So how does that affect people if you are not in a sanctuary city? And
It affects them,
You're-
including in the sanctuary cities too, no? Because
Well,
there's really not a law that says
There's not a law, but Mayor de Blasio went out after, Trump sent his executive order saying that he's going to cut funding, he's going to punish. He was really going after New York, I mean, which is a shame because it's his hometown. But
do you guys claim them anymore?
pass. I don't. No, thank you. So I mean, for us, I think it's tricky because De Blasio is standing strong that we are a sanctuary city. You are safe here, but Trump is threatening. He's saying we're going to take away your federal funding. We're going to make this impossible. But New York is really trying to stand strong the best we can.
And that's kind of what this is doing actually, is it's actually the state then doing the same to the cities in Wisconsin, is my understanding. Like Madison, what did I say? Madison, Milwaukee, and Racine are the three that haven't declared but are behaving openly as sanctuary cities. So it's this legislation really goes after them, but who it affects are really a lot of farm families and stuff. I've read a lot of stories, like personal stories of farms, of farmers who actually voted for Trump who are going, we have no workers, they all left. There was a recent story, it was being shared around Facebook, and maybe I'll share it to the community, about a farm who had workers there who had worked there for 15, 16 years, and they left.
Yeah.
Left and went home because they said, we're getting out before.
Oh.
And these people, the farmers were like, these are like our family members. Right. These are.
Yeah. And this farmer tried to fill that position from he's main man, the one that was there 17 years.
Yes.
It's been 4 attempts and nobody stays. It's a hard job.
Yeah,
and,
7 days a week, milking cows.
Workforce development here in Brown County says that they have jobs and they don't have anyone to fill them because such hard jobs are always going to be taken by the people that didn't have opportunities before, that a job is a job and I'll do it however hard it is.
Absolutely.
This is what I was doing for no money anyways, to keep at home or
Absolutely.
something.
Yeah, so it's scary to me because
it affects
everyone. It affects the big cities. It affects rural America.
It affects the security of the community, because if you do, like you were saying, you don't go to the police anymore to report a crime.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Something's going to happen to you. You are not going to go because now this guy that's taking care of you and trying to keep you safe is obligated to tell somebody.
Right. And we're lucky here in Green Bay. We actually have a police chief who has said that will not happen under his watch. So
he came from Los Angeles and he
came from LA.
He stated once that you have to have a lot of heart to pull over that person with kids in the car just going from work to home or to school and impound that car for 30 days, which is the law there, and feel like, they're not doing anything wrong. But here again is the definition of crime. They're driving without a license. Mm-hmm. They're employed when they're not supposed to be. They don't have a work permit.
But then we have children. If adults aren't working, then what's happening to children?
That's a big issue, because now your parents can't work. You're going to be in the system. You're going to be poor.
So you have a daughter. Is your daughter then a U.S. citizen?
Yes.
Okay, so she's a U.S. citizen.
She was born in California.
She was born here in California, and you've been here since. What did you say again?
2010.
2010. You've been in Green Bay.
I've been here since then. It was sort of a last resort to come here when I couldn't go back home. I asked family for help, but the situation there is the same. I was going to take 2 years to get a job, and how do you do until then? Mm-hmm. So I had one friend that kept telling me, you need to come to Green Bay. You're going to make it here. You don't know, this is wonderful. You're going to. And I wasn't convinced because we weren't really close, but she was surely, she was sure that it was going to be good, and she was right. Yeah,
it's been good.
It's been really good.
I think I met you shortly after you moved here.
Yeah.
So Her daughter's a year older than mine. So, I mean, I think we could talk. I think we could tell our stories forever and talk about this forever. Anyone who wants to look up, again, the laws that are being looked at here, Assembly Bill 190 and Senate Bill 275, check those out and see how that really could affect our community and our economy, and not just here in Wisconsin, but how it'll affect everyone. I do want to move on to something related, kind of, but a little bit different. So today, right now, by 8 o'clock Eastern time, so 7 o'clock here, part of Trump's travel ban will take effect because it's been overturned partially by the Supreme Court, and they will hear the full hearing in October, I believe it said.
It is October.
Yeah.
Unless it's already been rectified.
Yeah, so the SCOTUS will hear the arguments in October. So you traveled here, Camille, last night, and I was talking to her on the phone, and she's like, I'm so glad I'm getting through tonight instead of tomorrow. So they actually took, so when this was ruled on, they took 72 hours to supposedly roll it out better versus last time. So last time people were just like detained in the airport and it was all kinds of craziness. You heard stories about like famous children's authors who were here speaking and who were detained in the airport.
Well, they've opened it a little bit too, not just the 72 hours. I was reading an article that if you've already applied for a visa,
Yes.
Or you already have things planned, they'll honor it through July 6th, I believe.
If you get a visa from now until tonight at 8, 7 Central, stay tuned, people.
Get your visa.
If you get your visa right now, you can come. Refugees, if you are planned to be here by July 6th, you are still allowed. After July 6th, nothing. So it's a 120-day suspension of refugees.
How do you close the door on refugees?
I don't know. How do we close? Camille, what does it say on the Statue of Liberty right over by your house? Like,
all are welcome here, basically. I mean,
I don't. It's how do we do this? I have 2 people here who agree with me on this. So I mean, I hope all of you weigh in on the community. Because I do want to hear other sides of it, but it just like I've seen the pictures and the children and
Yeah, I think sometimes our government forgets, everything's become so diluted. We're talking about human beings here. We're talking about people. We're talking about families. We're talking about children and mothers. And I think it gets lost in the numbers and the big picture. But in the reality is, these are real lives that you're dealing with, that you're gambling with. And I think that's let's strip away everything, strip away every statistic, all the crimes, and let's look at people. This is affecting people.
So, I mean, the argument is really it's only 6 countries that are restricted right now.
Countries who are in war-torn.
War-torn. I mean, and they are mostly Muslim countries. It's Iran, Iraq, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, and Yemen. I thought Iraq was taken out of that, but
It is a little smaller in size population
I have Iran.
than New York.
right. Syria is very small.
The list you have is exactly what I have.
Okay.
Too. Yeah.
It's ridiculous. By statistics, I feel as though you could relocate these people and be fine.
Spread them
Be
around.
done with it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you have to have, so you can come to be fair, it's not shutting down completely.
Right.
You have to have a bona fide relationship. So
Right.
this is where it's getting tricky. This is where they took the 72 hours to figure out what is a bona fide relationship. So it's parent, child, adult son or daughter, daughter-in-law, son-in-law, siblings. If you have admission to a university, I believe.
Yes.
And if you are being sponsored to come here by a private entity to speak, or like a public institution to come as a speaker,
Yes.
I believe are the criteria. So they're not completely shutting it down.
But my question is, what about for someone like Sylvia, who she just told us, say it's reversed, say no one can go to Rio. She just told us, unfortunately, her situation is she's lost everyone. And say America was a war-torn country, you know, in her situation, why are we saying this lovely person can't go and the other person who, what if their cousin or uncle is a criminal? I feel like this is so diluted. Like what is that bona fide relationship, and what it's not specific enough, I guess. Not specific. It's too broad but not specific enough. I think you're leaving something to then local officials to deal with.
Well, and that's
It's gonna be a nightmare.
That's the issue. Is it, you know, the last couple times it went through, it was kind of a nightmare. And the lower courts actually took into account what candidate Trump said. The Supreme Court is not taking into account what he said. So I think that's where some of the difference is coming in, because they're looking at it differently. I don't quite understand why that is, but I guess maybe because they're looking at it from the time he took office.
Sure.
I suppose. So it should be really interesting. Camille, I'll be curious to hear if you have any stories from going back.
Yeah.
If you see any, I'm hoping there's not chaos. I don't want chaos for people. I don't want stories of 5-year-olds detained away from their mothers, you know.
To not hear those, because how can you measure? How can you make sure everybody has a possibility? The law says right now a person such as myself can only get legal through marrying a citizen.
Right.
does
We
that-
talked.
How is that?
I think that might be a whole nother show.
Yeah, because now, you know, there is a way. Oh yeah, but that way just could get you in a lot of trouble. So you know, the fact that you're gonna make a law that's gonna restrict things, but if you don't look at every case, but then again, how are you gonna look at every single?
Well, that's what it says. It's actually everything else will be case by case basis. So imagine the backlog that's going to happen as we look at case by case basis.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they already have a case by case for asylum cases, people who are seeking asylum. I mean, now we're just going to add on to that.
Right.
I mean,
federal employees have to be
right.
just
Busy.
busy and
They're
bogged down
hiring
and
more
worried.
people.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, so we have to wrap up. If you guys want to give, or you ladies would like to give some final thoughts, and if you have, I know you have a group that you work with, if you wanted to share that. So if there's anyone out there who is needing
Yes.
help, so if you want to
I
wrap
do
up with that.
work closely with Casa Alba through a group called Migration Advocacy Network.
Okay.
And it's just a group of concerned citizens that will be out there fighting for the rights of immigrants.
Yeah.
We want to keep the dairy farms working the way they should be.
Okay, good. So if there's anyone out there who's listening and needs help and needs information, we'll have Sylvia's contact information.
Sure.
You can reach out to her. Camille?
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. I think my big message is just the message I always have, is that be good to each other. You know, we are all human beings. We're all, you know, here. It's one planet, and we're here, and let's make it united and be kind to everyone. At least be kind to one person a day, and remember that your story is your story, and that other people are coming from different places. And just be kind, be good to each other.
Mm-hmm. You can disagree and still be kind to each other.
Absolutely.
Diversity is progress.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
We're all one human race here.
All right. All right. So that ends Political Radar Echo episode 7. Thank you both for coming on.
Thank you.
For show notes, go to politicalradarecho.com/7. If you're watching this episode on YouTube, like, subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell to get notifications. For more great political content, be sure to check out Political Radar Pulse with Rhonda. And if you'd like to support the show, you can like us on Facebook, and you can join the Political Radar Echo community group on Facebook. And you can buy shirts and other merchandise at politicalradar.com/shop. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for watching Political Radar Echo. To ensure that you'll never miss an episode, subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. To check out more episodes of Political Radar Echo, visit politicalradarecho.com or connect with us on Facebook or Twitter.